to talk about BCAR or Bungie Chevron Ag Renewables, and he'll give you how the program works from his end. I'll talk to you about how growing it works, and then he'll wrap up with the exact details and contracting. So Alex, you want to begin?
Nice. All right, appreciate y'all coming out today. Appreciate you hosting us. It's nice air conditioning room. Sure be working outside and all that. As Suzanne said, my name is Alex Hibler. I'm the commercial manager for our winter canola program. Originally from Missouri, grew up on a farm there. But I really got my start in the grain industry in West Tennessee. Started as an intern and then as a management trainee at the Dyersburg Bungie facility back before it was CGB. Also managed that facility for a few years, 2018, 2019 as well. So fairly familiar with the area. I was very excited to bring this program to West Tennessee because I think this area has as much or more potential than any in the program. I know you guys can grow heck of a crop. So I'm excited to get this in and hope that that's something you guys entertain. Feel free to stop and ask questions along the way. No need to be shy about it. So I want to start by talking about why we're here. If you would have told me 5 years ago when last time I was in Tennessee that I'd be back talking about winter canola, I would have thought you were crazy, right? Something new to me, but we're really in a changing market, a changing landscape, and it's really presenting some unique opportunities to Mid-South farmers to take advantage of some of the bigger picture items that are sweeping across the country. So start off, it's a long-term collaboration partnership between Bungie, Chevron, and Corteva, right? 3 strong partners in their respective industries. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. We're introducing winter canola hybrids. Produce oil for lower carbon biofuels, right? There's a Chevron piece in that, and the biofuel piece is a big driver. Focusing on the Mid-South, right? I think West Kentucky, West Tennessee is really the epicenter of this program. For the acres that we're gonna need, it's gonna grow further than this, but we know that we need to start here and get a good foothold and make it a successful program. Winter canola, cash winter crop that we think the production economics are gonna be really competitive with the area for other winter alternatives. So the big why we're here, it's renewable diesel. Renewable diesel is a straight drop in for petroleum diesel. It's not biodiesel, you don't have to blend it. And we've seen the mandates sweeping across the country, driving capacity utilization, capacity needed for this renewable diesel, right? So you see these lines, this is 2022, 2023, right? We're already here, and you see how much this is renewable diesel capacity growth, right? We more than doubled over the last 2 years. And we anticipate that to continue throughout 2026, 2027, right? And these are with projects that are already in the pipeline, already getting built, capacity that we feel really strong that is gonna come online, right? But what does that capacity, or what do these orange bars mean to you? Well, to fill that capacity is gonna take roughly 6 billion gallons of renewable diesel. And down to farm level, to produce 6 billion gallons of renewable diesel, you'd need 81 million acres of soybeans, right? US only makes 85 to 95 a year, right? 95's even up there, right? So we can't use essentially our entire soybean crop to produce renewable fuels, right? There's need for exports for feed use, and there are some other renewable feedstocks out there, right? Beef tallow, used cooking oil, things of that nature. But big picture here is there's going to be a deficit in the market. There already is a deficit in the market, and winter canola is really the first step in filling that deficit being created by the renewable diesel. So one of the biggest questions that we always get asked is, okay, so this is driven by federal policy, there's struggle to pin risk, we have an election coming up, is it just gonna get wiped out, right? We're gonna put this work in, somebody's gonna change the policy, renewable fuels go by the wayside, and we're not gonna be competitive. And this is a different scenario, right? We remember the ethanol boom, and that was good for farming in general. What's the big difference between this and the ethanol boom? This time, when ethanol came about, the oil companies were fighting against the ethanol production, right? And today I'm standing here wearing Chevron on my shirt, so obviously the oil companies are lobbying for this and pushing for this as well. But the other piece of that is it's not just a federally driven program, right? This is a state-driven program, a consumer-driven program, and a stakeholder company. This is a map of all the states that currently have legislation for renewable fuels. And this map has about twice as much color as it did a year ago, right? So it's kind of a wave that's sweeping, and that's why these companies are jumping on board with renewable diesel, and the capacity is needed moving into the future. Any questions about renewable diesel or policies or the reason we'll need the feedstock for this fuel? Cost $750 million to build. It's gonna crush approximately 50 million bushels of canola per year. So acreage wise, you're looking at 700,000 to 1 million acres of canola to fill this crush plant that will be operational in 2026. Right next door to this crush plant is Chevron's refinery in Geismar, Louisiana. Chevron's invested approximately $1 billion to upgrade this refinery to be able to handle all the oil produced from our canola and turn that into renewable diesel, right? So when you think about teeth behind the program, it's nearly $2 billion worth of investment. We're looking at this for the long term. We don't want this to be a flash in the pan. We want long, consistent, sustained demand year over year, and a market that you guys can rely on, which I think is probably been the biggest detriment to canola so far. Is it's been a good crop, folks, but the market's hit or miss, and we're here to take that piece out of it. So the next couple slides just kind of reinforce the points we talked about, right? The opportunity summer. For renewable fuels, we need to increase oil output on acres, right? So think about if you're growing an oilseed soybean or canola, and you have those in rotation, you're basically producing 2.5 times the oil per acre that you would have versus a soybean wheat rotation. And we just put some examples there of how it can work in a rotation, and Suzanne will get into that a lot more from the agronomic piece and the benefits there for it. This goes to highlight, the acre pool for the U.S. is steady. They're not making more farmland. If anything, we're taking away from it, right? Solar farms, suburban expansion, you name it, right? Acres are coming out of the pool. So we have to find a way to produce more with the same amount or less acres. And that's where that canola piece, where you can increase your oil output per acre without disrupting the food supply. And then the last piece here, if the argument is made that, well, we can just increase soybean acres, fulfill feed demand, we've got corn acres, we don't have the soybean crushing capacity to meet renewable diesel capacity, right? So we have to have additional feedstock capacity, and that's kind of what this chart illustrates right here. So, right, the key takeaway here is that there's a deficit in the market, and somebody's gonna fill it, whether that's here, whether that's in Iowa, whether that's in Nebraska, somebody's gonna find a way to fill it. And canola is a proven crop that we know work in this geography, and we're lucky enough to get the first opportunity to fill it. There's no guarantee that it works, but the opportunity will be there, and it will be there moving forward. So that's the big reason why we're here. And personally, I don't know whether you guys believe in renewable fuel policies, or any of these changes that are being made, but somebody's gonna get paid for it, right? So what better place than here? With that, I'll turn it over, talk about how to grow.
Before you stop, one thing we kind of touched on in the other meeting, I want to do, I know a lot of these guys have asked me, where will they deliver it to for y'all? And is it a for sure thing? If there will be a local delivery point and all that?
Yeah, so I got that right after.
Okay,
Yeah, and we'll talk about the money side and the delivery side.
Do you have any questions? Or is that it?
Yeah, that's what I was wanting.
Okay, good. So we're keeping you in suspense for that, but I won't talk too long. But you guys know, I moved down here from up north. If I talk too fast, tell me to slow down, because I'm bad about that. So it says up here, Kyle Holmberg, yes, if you recognize that name, part of Kentucky. So last year, we had about 4,500 acres of winter canola in his neck of the woods, specifically, Weakley County and north. And it's already, expanded. I think, Alex, you have to correct me on what the figure was, but if we were at 4,500 last year, we had 15,000 acres contracted this year, or is that a little high?
30,000.
30,000, okay, so I wasn't overshooting it. And what is your goal for this year?
30 to 35.
30,
Oh,
35, so
I'm
we're.
sorry, I misunderstood. We're currently at 26,000.
Oh, okay.
With the goal of 30 to 35.
Gotcha, okay, so, the growth is exponential already based off of the success of this past year. So if there's questions that I can't answer, Kyle's in a meeting today, but I can get with him and either get him here to talk to y'all about it, or, give me some answers to talk to y'all about. So, this is, while it might be new to me, it's not new to our company so far. So again, a lot of it we've talked about, the why winter canola in the south. This is kind of come and gone, right? But like Alex said, we've got a program here to support y'all and not leave anyone hanging out like the hemp growers, got hung out to dry a couple of years ago. The other part of this is, we're not necessarily trying to dissuade people from growing wheat, but we understand that wheat's not, been as steadily profitable, to put it mildly, the past couple of years, so this gives you another option. There's one hybrid that we have, for right now. I'm waiting for them to tell me what our new intro is, but it's hybrid canola. It is conventional, but it's hybrid, it's not open pollinated. It's called PT 303, and it's the one we grew last year. It was developed in Europe along the same latitude line, right? So we knew it was, adapted for this neck of the woods before we brought it over here. So, the things I like about it is it's got a good disease package simply because canola's new here, right? So we don't wanna give you something weak and sign you up with a problem from the get-go. I will recommend a fungicide, but I'm getting ahead of myself. And then top performance, right? So this is a stable leader across canola hybrids. And so, it's one that I think statistically, or not statistically, but we've been saying average yield 40 to 45, but this past year, the average was about 52 bushels to the acre. And that translates to roughly 100 bushel wheat. So if you are a good wheat manager and can hit that 90 to 100 bushel mark, I would expect around the 50 bushel mark for your winter canola. So some planting considerations, how do we actually grow it? You do plant it earlier than your wheat. Two things. One is we want a good establishment because this crop is really small seeded. We want to make sure it's up and well established before we start getting cooler temperatures. The other benefit of it is we plant it earlier and it comes off earlier. Now, that comes with a trade-off, right? What are we doing in September? Harvesting a bunch of other stuff, right? So, and you had a question, Dion?
Yes, ma'am. Now the question right there, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Now, let's just say, I know some farmers out here, let's just say they come off other crops that they got that's already been planted, but they're coming off a little late, and it's past the due date. Now, is that possible? Let's just say I got beans coming off in November, and I would love to, try to get that in the ground, but is that something that can a date be moved forward, or that's just a set date right there, that you have to get that in there?
That's your best practice. There's concerns of winter kill if you plant into October or even into November. From what I understand of canola, it doesn't necessarily require the vernalization, the cold, the way the winter wheat does, but it is a little more susceptible to early winter kill. So that's why we're talking about getting it planted in September. Now,
Gotcha.
that being said, we haven't grown it right here in Crawford County or a little farther south. So we may see it go in the ground a smidge later and be all right. And that wouldn't surprise me because I think we all know when we get winter weather, there seems to be this line, right, from the bridge that crosses Dyersburg and up is snow, and then it's just a messy, slushy mix farther down here. So it may be okay, but I don't know that for a fact yet. So that's why we're saying September is the best time. So after corn, after early beans, those are gonna be your main two that you'll probably put it behind. We do want it on well-drained soils, so if, you've got a spot where you've put wheat before and it just floods out, you know, or there's a section of the field that floods out, you're gonna see that same problem with canola. When it comes to planting, similar thing, row spacing, 7.5 or 15s. From what we've seen so far, haven't seen a yield difference between the two. So whichever you're set up for would work, but do keep in mind, this is teeny tiny seeds, right? Kinda like when Sunday school teacher talks about the size of a mustard seed. I mean, same kind of thing with canola, and I think, Alex, you have a
Yeah, that'd be good to
bag
pass
you
around,
can pass around and see.
see if it scares anybody off.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking at 3 to 3.5 pounds per acre planting rate, okay? So we're not talking numbers of seeds, it's a little too small to get any of that kind of,
Seed per pound.
gosh, hold on, I hadn't thought about it that way. I'm gonna have to look that up, I'm not very quick with math in my head. But we're looking at 5 to 7 plants emerged and established, before it really starts getting cold in the fall. So seeding depth, another interesting one, but then again, we've got cotton growers in the room, so I'm sure you can manage it. 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch, it's about getting the moisture, but not trying to get those teeny tiny things to come up in an inch of dirt, right? I've had some folks ask, no-till versus conventional till. I'd say for something this small, conventional till is the easy button for getting it up, but we had no-till growers that did it. That's why we have this range, right? The 3.5 pounds per acre, that would be more for my no-till growers, but again, you wanna look at what kind of success have you had with seed to soil contact and getting a crop up in your no-till? You have your equipment set right, or is it kind of a crapshoot? You know, those are the questions, and if you feel like you've got it really solid for small seeded varieties, then I would not be worried about putting no-till. But again, I'm not asking y'all to go out and buy a bunch of different, equipment to do this. If you've got a drill, especially one that's got the small grain toppers on it, you're already right there in the neighborhood. My one watch out that I found out is, high-speed planters. I mean, we know we can't put wheat through them, we definitely couldn't do that with canola. So, any questions on planting?
You know, with the plan, about different plates, that's it.
That I'm gonna have to find out.
Most major manufacturers do make their own plates. And, yeah, we'll have full information on that, for the different vendors. I think even at some point, maybe in August, they plan on having a plant clinic.
Yes, I haven't,
Where,
I think that's it, of the different plates, sorry about it.
depends on your planter. I know with the John Deere planter, you have to buy baffle, plates, and, it seemed like it was about 4 little pieces. Not big money, not big money, but.
What about 20 inch rows?
20 inch, ooh,
I don't have
did they?
Yeah.
I must have missed that when they were mentioning about
They
that.
had it on, I don't know if it's in this, but
Okay.
when they talked about yield, they had somebody grow on 20 last year.
Well, it's all our worst places, I mean, a lot of people just swing the week.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody agrees to grow.
I've heard them asking about that at the last meeting too. I think you can do it. It's just, again, a question of what's the ground and the weather situation? How confident are you that you'll get a good stand?
I mean, is it like weed, you plant in the dust and let it rain?
Yep,
This ain't a half inch, in
Mhm.
September, it ain't gonna be no moisture.
yeah. Yes, but I would be watching the forecast for a rain coming in, hopefully.
That's what,
Kyle. Mhm.
Kyle made that point, in that meeting the other day, that some, he's talking about the planting dates and all, that's what he said, pretty much your planting date's gonna be when it gets rained on, because it's gonna, he said the same thing, you find it so shallow, it just sits there.
Do you get it too thick, it's just gonna lie on you, or?
No, I've seen, and I'll show you some, pictures, but two things, one is a big old stalk, right? But then on top of it, it kind of reminds me of a tumbleweed. I mean, once you get to the budding stage, it's about impossible to walk out in it, so it's all just a big mass holding itself up. So, lodging hasn't been a concern for us,
How tall is it?
might be a little taller,
What
but
would it hurt you if you planted a little bigger?
I don't think
Is
it
it gonna
would
hurt you?
personally. I don't think it would hurt.
You didn't see all that when you went to the lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be
No,
a little
I'm
more
asking,
susceptible to that mold.
is there like a growing regulator, be kinda like Palisade on week?
So, at this time, they haven't explored that, mostly because I don't think they've seen a need for it. But that's one thing, you'll find, I'm gonna get ahead of myself for a second here. I get questions on the herbicide program, right? I'll tell you, our options are a little bit limited. It's not so much that a canola can't take this product or that product, but if you think about whether it's a big basic like Bayer or Corteva, or you think of a small one like Amvac, they are most concerned with getting their products labeled for major row crops, right? Corn, beans, cotton. And so oftentimes until there's a demand for another crop, it's not that it won't work, it's that it wasn't officially tested and blessed by the EPA, right? So, I only expect our chemical options to grow, whether it's a PGR or herbicide or fungicide. Does that make sense? So, talking about inputs, so fertility, and this is, of course, this is a starting point, right? So, we're actually gonna base this on your soil test, just like any other crop. But looking at about 25 pounds of nitrogen, about 80 pounds of phosphorus, and 120 pounds of potassium in the fall, right? But just like wheat, we're gonna come back in the spring, we're gonna put out about 120 pounds of nitrogen and do two applications, right? So 120 units total, but split apply. And sulfur and boron, just like any of your other crops, the need for sulfur is greater the farther we get away from, Clean Air Act having started. And then boron, just like all your other crops, is really a lot more key than I think we've realized in years past. So again, this is probably pretty close to what you're putting on your wheat if you're going for high management. That's what we're looking at for winter canola.
I asked in that last meeting, know how all y'all farm, but I deal with a lot of y'all, I know most of y'all that grow wheat in this room, putting up like 28%, stream reply, and I asked him, could you do this, and he said yes, so, put out for that spring reply nitrogen, you can do 28, like we were doing on a wheat, and get your sulfur and nitrogen there.
The fall program for fertility there, is that, I guess that's for a double crop, right?
Right.
8120.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need 8120 for your canola. That's got that'll catch your canola and your soybeans.
Right.
Late freeze in the spring hurt it, like we,
Not nearly as bad as like wheat. I'm more concerned about a freeze like, early on, like one of those dramatic freezes we had this winter, for winter kill than I am a late freeze in the spring. So, but that being said, this year there was, it's kinda like when you see some, herbicide symptomology on your soybeans, you freak out when you first see it, and then you get a few weeks past it, and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought. That's kinda how that, those freezes went for us this year on our canola.
Talking about herbicide and stuff, I'm just thinking, dicamba, how's it handle that, cause that's gonna be, harvesting, people will burn down and stuff like that, how's it,
I do not have a good answer for you. I'd say no news is good news. I mean, I know up in Kentucky, it's pretty much off the list, but we've had growers year in, year out, whether it's canola in the past year or two for us, or canola or rapeseed for some other folks up there in, Weakley, Obion County. I hadn't heard the first thing about concerns there, but I'm gonna have to actually do some
I
asking.
guess
to see whether it's-
rapeseed is akin to.
Right.
I know when we used some rapeseed in cover crops, you couldn't hardly kill it with burned down dicamba, so drift may not be an issue with dicamba.
Yeah.
what about corn residue, chemical, that won't affect it?
I'm not concerned about it. I've even seen that if you had to use a little atrazine early on, that's okay. I'm not saying that's my number one choice.
What about cotton defoliants for that?
No, I don't think so. I'm gonna confirm that, but I haven't heard the first thing about that either. So, let me write these down before I forget, because the more kids I have, the shorter my short-term memory gets. watching videos on the iPad.
That stuff in the bag, is that how it come down, or is that what the season was like?
That's out of the combine.
Yep. Yep, so.
You wanna like tape off the bottom of your hot rod and stuff, do you?
No,
It's tiny.
it is tiny, but we didn't have any problems with
That won't
the
even,
equipment.
that won't even go on my green bin with it.
No.
That'll fill my floor up. How would you do that?
Well, we take it right at harvest. We don't
I
have-
just think you couldn't.
They make.
If I had to dry it down, if I
They-
cut it
they,
too wet, I messed up.
They make screens that go in your, just inserts, and sit right on top of your rendon for an hour, all preparations.
How about that moisture, what's gonna be the moisture range of harvest?
10% is what we wanted at, right? But I understand that you can't take canola down to CGB or cardio, right?
It's not food grade? Or it is?
No, I don't remember, we.
That's what's not the hard one.
I mean, same family.
It was
They
talking
said I
about,
won't get in trouble with the brand.
Yeah, I understand.
no, they won't. That's good.
Yeah.
No,
If
it's
you want
not
it
like
discounted,
that.
you want it
Food
discounted.
grade.
They was talking about that last week, just about the moisture level too, the other fellow was presenting how big a swing it was, it like, really, we'd like to talk about this
Right.
more, but like,
Right.
you know, when you first start in the morning until you get to lunch, it's a big swing and points drying down every day.
Yeah, it makes the soybean dry down look negligible. Cause it'll start, what did he say, like 13-14% sometimes in the morning when we start harvesting, and you'll be at 7 before the day's out. You know, it'll just air dry real quick, so, again, I think that's part of why Alex was saying it's not that big of a concern on, bringing loads that are a little bit wet to them.
What about this way?
It's
We
not
don't,
one.
we don't grade canola for test weight.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any deer poop in any samples of trouble. So, nothing we want out there.
And when you said that, is there an issue with it going down like it was, is wheat, I mean?
No,
real
we had
things?
no canola go down on us this year, where wheat up in our neck of the woods was, there was a lot of laying flat, so.
I guess because it's such a small seed, it's, you know, and not the weight.
That's right.
Bushy plant, whole stuff like
Yeah.
that.
What about the harvest point, is he gonna need special drinks and stuff for silver bar, stuff like that for combine?
Yeah,
For combines, most people just ran their wheat setups, small water concaves, if they had them. Some folks recommend a cross auger, which she got a picture up
I
there.
guess we get ahead of it.
No, that's okay, that's why I like these kind of meetings instead of the big groups, you know, like
So-
a field day.
Well, what you'll notice is the combine speed's a little slower, 2.5 miles an hour. And you can
Again,
go a little,
stalks like this sometimes.
yeah, but you can go a little faster if you have that cross auger, but we had folks that were just trying it out last year, 200 to 300 acres that didn't use cross auger. And they said it, you know, didn't make a huge difference, right? So if a guy's just trying it out, not sure if he wants to do it long term, maybe don't make that investment, it's about $8,000 to $10,000 put on your combine.
What does that help with?
Yeah, yeah.
It,
So bushy.
Yeah, when it's all
Make it
bushy,
get in.
yeah, it'll just kind of mat, and then on a draper, if it mats too much, the draper can only do so much to bring it in and feed it in, so the cross auger helps.
So even though it's bushy, it's light, like on top of very good.
Traditional auger style work.
It will, but you will have more header loss. So, I mean, we had some folks this year, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had just a traditional header. But yeah, you will experience more header loss.
You cut it in the ground or cut the heads out of it or?
Good question. I'm gonna assume a little bit closer up to the heads, just so that we're not running as much.
That last
Material
meeting,
for the
they said
machine.
you just cut the top out of it, and they was talking about, you get that big stalk, and somebody asked the question, is that gonna ruin a tractor and combine tires, cause, you know, the big stalks, and he said you're so tall, when you're running over it, they're just laying over, it ain't, you're not cutting it short, where it's like a cotton stalk here.
Yeah, oh no, he's parked in a wheat field right now with, Nolan in the back. Yeah, I'll get you some more pictures though.
They said you cut it a lot higher, when you run over it, the stalks just lay over them, so you know, like poke to the tire.
Yep. Alright, I'm gonna come back to this one in just a second, but, other thing I wanted to mention is pest and pathogen management, right? So I talked about, it does have a good disease package, but this is a new area, right? And again, if we're treating this like high management wheat, we're gonna put a fungicide on it. So, the good news is that, you know, we've got a lot of flexibility with fungicides. Am I a fan of multiple modes of action to hold just grabbing, a good strobing, a single mode of action, that's okay. So that's what we're looking for right now. The application timing, saying 30 to 50% of bloom, a little hard to gauge your first time, right? But that's why me, like Kyle Holmberg, Kyle Wade, who's actually my counterpart, or not my counterpart, but he's Tom McDowell to the north of us, for those of you that know Tom. That's what we'll be here for all season, is checking in with y'all, helping you with timings.
You know, about what time of season that'd be, what, like, if it's coming off earlier, then I feel like that's gonna be, that fungicide spray is earlier too, right?
I would agree with that. Do I have the calendar date for you? No. You write that one down too. Alex, or Taylor, you guys got anything to add?
So I think they were recommending a fungicide right at the first flower, which would be maybe mid-March.
Yeah, so I'd say probably end of March, 1st to April, based off of that. If we're hitting the 30% bloom, yeah, I'd probably say end of March.
I do remember he had a picture up there in that last meeting, they was talking about what like 30-50% bloom looked like, and it looked like the field was yellow, pretty bloomed down.
Oh, yeah.
It really was not, it still had a lot longer to go.
It's got so much color to it.
Right.
Yep. One other thing on harvest is just, and it kind of got mentioned in the group as we were talking, definitely want to desiccate this, okay? Same principles basically as desiccating soybeans, right? You want some color change, and I'm gonna show you an example here in a minute. And also just make sure you're timing yourself right? Don't out spray your combine, because shadow loss will become a real thing, and you've seen how tiny those seeds are. So, this is slightly different presentation than I was used to, but this will show you, and of course this is in worked ground, what it's looking like. We're planting these teeny tiny, you know, that is zoomed in, right?
Yeah.
This is why we're talking about how many pounds per acre and, wanting to go shallow, because they're little. But then as we get to October 4th, they start looking a little bit more like almost soybeanish. Again, kind of like beans, if I have a uniform stand, I'm more concerned with that than I am exact plant count, right? But yeah, that's the little bitty stuff that's gotta fight its way up, so if you're putting it in no-till, just make sure you've got your row cleaner set right. And again, for those in the back, plants here, 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 and here. I should have bought a bigger TV. Don't tell my husband that, or he'll be buying one. But then, this is what it looks like by the time we get to Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
How tall is that, roughly?
I would say about a little bit over ankle high. Yep, we had some of the Union City I got to go look at in December, and it was even a little bit taller than that.
That helps with your herbicide considerations.
This is on 7.5, yep. Yep, so, and that's something with the herbicide, in the fall, we're gonna suggest, putting down one of the yellows, right, Treflan. And then in the spring, it's, if you've got a grass problem, let's come across with clethodim, but I mean, if you've got the good stand,
I asked that question, he said, wait, she talking about Treflin, I heard Bill mention prowl, and I asked about prowl on the last meeting, and he said he was not a fan of prowl on it.
Yeah, I
don't know
can't remember why.
I don't remember what his reasoning was, but
Yep.
he said like, old school Treflin worked on the ground, is what,
If you do that, then you are conventional.
He also,
Yeah.
he also
Yeah.
mentioned man, but they wasn't just saying for spread man.
Might be things spreading, but either way, yeah.
it might be.
Well, I mean, he also said, you know, really even just a burn down, he wasn't just opposed to either, not even really having a freeze. I asked that question, just a burn, because he kept offering on how thick that stuff was, and those some like getting the ground and all that. They asked a bunch of questions about the herbicide last time, they asked about proud, and he said he wasn't a fan of it.
And when Savannah comes out and asks her, she don't know me, I guarantee she'll have something.
That's Jimmy Cook talking about me.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is, yeah, Jimmy Cook.
Yeah. I used to go to church with him. So, but yeah, December 4th, again, it's gonna depend on how warm it is. If it's gonna keep keep growing, but that's also, you know, the balance, right? If someone's like, well, what if it's in fallow and I just start planting the 1st of September? That's also a risk. I don't think that's anything anyone's exploring right here, but that's a risk from it getting too growthy, right? Just kinda like your wheat, you don't want it too tall before it gets cold, same idea. So you want it looking about like this, and then, yeah, it caught frost, it's gonna look a little ugly, like I said, as we come past it, usually it's not as scary as it looks from the get-go, right? And just like wheat, you get a little bit of, snow on it, that'll help insulate it just as much as, anything else. But here's where we're talking about approaching, this is probably 20% bloom, I mean, that's already pretty bright yellow, right? But when we talk about percent bloom, it's not even how many plants are blooming, it's, you've got a, you know, a bloom was, I think the word's raceme, I'm trying to remember from plant science, but you know, it's about this long with flowers all up and down it, right? And so we're talking about how much of it's blooming up and down each stem more so than how many plants are blooming. But it'll keep brightening up, and then we get to May, this is not ready to harvest yet, but we're getting close, right? The blooms are off and we've got these little purple whole pea looking things, but smaller, coming off of all the stems, they're nice and green. And then when it's time to desiccate, we're looking at this right here in the middle. So the little BBs are going from a mix of, they're going from straight green to a mix of green, brownish, blackish. That's when it's like, all right, we've got enough color change. Let's go ahead and desiccate this so that they're all looking like this before we start popping out. So again, this year, harvest was right around the 5th, 6th of June for a lot of folks, so we're looking at, you know, about a week earlier than our wheat. It is a little bit slower going, 2 to 2.5 miles per hour. So I guess it's not, that might be more than a little for some folks, huh? But this is what it looks like. Y'all were asking about, concerned about, is this gonna hurt my tractor tires? This looks-
That's zoomed in too, though.
That is zoomed in, I would say,
That was the picture that they asked, that they had, and he said, that looks like that's gonna poke holes all in my tires.
But it's such a zoomed in.
That's what he said, it's a lot taller than it looks in that picture.
Yep.
Which I guess you can kinda see in that road right there, that where it laid it down, it is right smart taller, see like on the ground there.
talking about right in here.
To the right.
No, where the planter ran.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
you can't see how it's laid down, it's a lot longer.
Are y'all seeing a better stand of beans behind it, because it's not as much?
Deficit weed.
I don't know if we've officially quantified that. That would make sense to me, because even though it's big and bushy, you can see how much space is between all those stalks.
A lot of soil, or we.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you go out there and dig that easy.
So, I would assume yes, but yeah.
What kind of root balls that have, if you wanted to go in, like tillage or something?
I haven't looked at it myself, but I mean, just thinking about how rape and canola sometimes are in your cover crops, I imagine it's decent size, but, I need to get you there.
It's big, it's got a big taproot on it, and laterals around the
Got
top.
a big one, okay.
Does road spacing narrower roads result in a smaller plant that feeds to the compound there? If you got wide roads at the top, it'll be more bushy and fall up on the header more.
That's a good question. That's a good question, I'm gonna have to find that one out.
I would think so, because if you're doing the same pounds per acre.
And you're targeting a quarter inch to half inch deep.
Yeah.
I believe that was, I don't know, there's no way that was a drill, there's no.
Have you seen the difference in conventional till versus no-till and acceptable stands?
It's gonna be a little bit more tricky to get a stand with no-till, but we had several, in fact, let's see what's on here.
We were saying.
Here we go. So we've got some minimum and conventional till versus no-till, and what our yields were. So, you know, it can, when it's not final stands, that is yield over there on the right-hand side. But it might be a little more challenging, but you can still successfully get.
It's more like behind, well,
It's more often gonna be behind corn or early beans.
Kind of won't come off early.
No, you put it behind cotton's not enough work.
like you said, early beans, y'all don't know the early beans, cause you cut everything there.
We can maybe pick them down in the first part of
Yeah, but you be right at that window.
What about ripping the ground? I read online where really heavy you can rip the ground, or is that, that's not a big deal if you did it.
I don't think it's a big deal, you know, if you feel like your ground needs ripping, I don't think it's gonna hurt anything, but it's not
It's not gonna
anything
help
that's
tremendously,
specifically,
but-
no. So, yeah, here we go, this one was put out by yield averages by,
That shows you.
mhm,
Average.
mhm.
Or like a rotation, is it better than weed, or not as good, or
Are you talking yield and money, or are you talking soil health, or?
soil health, like?
I'm of the opinion that it's better, a couple of reasons, one is change for your soils, right? Changing root structure, changing plant species, that kind of thing, you know, I do think so. Now, once you get in, if you get into an established, I don't know if it plateaus or continues to build organic matter, that stuff, I do not know. Oh, here we go, there's the row spacing. Again, the last presentation I was at, we didn't have these slides in there, so, but we do have a guy on 20s. He's right in there, right in between the 7.5 to 15 inch row spacing.
Is that local?
This is, yeah, this is Western Kentucky, so basically between Paducah and New Bern. So, now, exactly where the guy is that was on 20s, I do not know. Alex, do you happen to know, or? I know I'm leaning on you for agronomic stuff, but I know you've been very involved in everything.
I don't remember who had 20s, but there is some Wheatley County and some Henry County mixed in with those as well.
So again, just to review, you know, you can do, conventional is probably the easy button, but you can do no-till. You know, fall fertility, slightly higher rates of nitrogen compared to your, wheat. You've got the flexibility for planting on 7.5, 15s, 20s. Spring fertility, just like your wheat, we're gonna do 2 passes of nitrogen. Good to throw in some sulfur and some boron. Fungicide, so this is one that they kind of went back and forth on whether you do 2 applications of fungicide, right? And I think that's what Taylor and I were getting into, when you talked about, you know, first bloom, and I was talking about 30 to 50% bloom. I think some of that's going to also depend on how much disease pressure we're seeing. Earlier desiccation than, probably what you're accustomed to with beans, but that's because we've got an earlier harvest window, right? And then you're gonna have to slow down some, and you'll have you're gonna be targeting that moisture of 8 to 10%, but we've got some flexibility in there, and a little bit more forgiveness at our delivery point than, some of our other crops. So,
I didn't see any herbicide on that, I mean, so.
Yep.
Just herbicide at planting and then.
that is the plan, is herbicide at planting, whether you wanna do, a pre-electroplant, or if you wanted to do just a burn down like we talked about. And then really in the spring, it's just, if you've got a grass problem for whatever reason, you can go in with lecithin.
Might be a little volunteer corn.
Yeah, that too.
In the fall, possibly, without early getting planted.
Yep, yep, and then of course it is, that's right. So,
I saw back earlier, when you were talking about a different,
oh, Raylon?
yeah.
I think that's correct me if I'm wrong, that's the trade name, right, guys? Or backlot?
I was gonna say, I don't.
That's I'm a nerd, so I get tripped up sometimes, and I don't actually sell chemicals, so I get tripped up between active name and trade name sometimes, but yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you don't have to use that brand, right?
I was just wondering if it worked basically the same, so timing of how fast it's gonna kill it before you
Yes.
cut it, it's probably about the same as desiccated beans.
Yes, yep, and I mean, you know, it's gonna be a little bit weather dependent, right, depending on how hot and dry it is, how quick it'll turn.
Well, it's talking, kinda like when you desiccate the June,
I didn't mean that, I mean, how many days after you spray it, you cut it?
That's true, yeah.
You know, we normally think about a week, you know, if you're in beans, but,
About 4 days, is what we saw this year.
okay. Cause they all come and grind down faster, that's why.
Mhm. Yep.
That was one thing they mentioned,
seed cost?
So seed cost is SRP, we've got one product, right? It's $5.95 a bag, that is a 50-pound bag. So if we're talking about, 3.3.5 pounds per acre, I think my math was close to 15 acres a bag. And Bill, Taylor, Clayton, they'll all be able to order it for you. The thing, and Alex will get into this, is, decision has to be made in the first half of August essentially, so that we can have the seed brought in time, so that you guys aren't waiting on it. I know, right? I know.
We think you got this meeting any day.
Yeah, no pressure, no. Like, is there an additional technology fee, is that what you're asking? No, cost, straight cost.
Does that hurt afterwards? I'm just asking.
No, no.
It's just like, we,
No, this is just straight, this comes straight from Pioneer to Mid-South, so it's
Can you
straight.
save
from
seed?
Do it?
That's what he said, he said.
Oh, can you save seed?
On the green planet?
Thank you.
It's hybrid, you can't.
Can't.
So,
Yeah, it's hybrid, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
And it
Be
does
like
come fully
saving
treated.
corn seed.
Yep, whoever asked me
Yeah.
about,
Because
does
it's,
that
they
seed
cross
look like what's in the
pollinate
bag?
it. It won't do that.
It won't be right, that's right.
There you go.
So, but yeah, when you look at the seed back there, that's what it looks like, coming out of the combine. When it comes in the bag, it's got fully treated, it's like bright blue. That being said, you try and go dig behind the planter, you're gonna have
You
to
said
take
you
your time
got
to find
one
it.
variety,
One variety, yep,
is it that, treated?
yes, treated,
It's
fully
about
treated.
$40 an acre?
I'm not good at checking math in my head, but I'm gonna say yes.
We figured it up the other day, it was $40 and some change. an acre.
Alright, any other questions on this stuff before Alex talks about the, nuts and bolts of the Bungie side and delivering and contracting?
What about replant policy,
Good question. Let me add that to my list. Oh, we hopefully weren't in
Are
that
we gonna have a
situation.
follow-up meeting today?
We might have to.
I thought about the same too, they all,
I just don't
decide,
know.
I'm gonna grow this, we could for sure have another, come around your shop or whatever,
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't know, I'd have a 2-1 meeting.
hopefully. So, I'm learning, doing my best to support y'all, but I'm learning too.
And hey, there, somebody asked a question the other day, did y'all talk about insurance?
No, that's, I think, what Alex
Okay.
gonna cover.
Yeah,
We'll wait.
insurance is available, it's not standard like your corner soybean insurance, it's through a written agreement. But if you decided to grow, just get that to your insurance agent as soon as you decide, and they can get that process started. All of our growers last year were able to get coverage, and Bungie is working to expand coverage in West Tennessee. We were able to get 14 counties added to Kentucky last year, and we expect the same to be done in Tennessee next year.
It's subsidized by the government like the rest of it?
Yeah, I think, so with revenue protection, the guarantee last year was 27 cents a pound, and I think it was like 1,980 pounds an acre, roughly worked out to $380 to $400 revenue protection. Cost about $8 to $14 an acre, depending on where you're at, what you picked. I don't think the protection will be as good this year, price is lower, right? But, it is available.
What is the price right now?
Price right now, $12.25 a bushel is the going price for canola. Off from last year, right? Last year we were roughly $14.50 average contract price for canola, but, I mean, we've all seen what the rest of the commodity market's done. You think if canola's lost $2 a bushel, how much is corn and beans and wheat lost, right? So it's held in there fairly well versus the rest of the commodity complex. There's a couple factors in that, right? Canola's grown in Canada, Europe, Australia, that's about it. Those are three pretty, say, dicey places to grow crops, right? They have more potential for weather failure, weather issues than most. You know, Australia hot and dry, Canada cold, wet, Europe, same thing. So we've seen the canola market hanging there fairly well compared to the rest of the commodity complex. So, as we mentioned earlier, we're targeting 30,000 acres this fall. Have about 26,000 acres committed already. I think the best thing to see for me is we had 16 growers last year. As of right now, we have 13 of those 16 growers under contract. The other 3 have indicated me verbally committed acreage to me. They're just waiting to see their crop maturity and how many acres they can get. Between those growers last year, roughly 4,500 acres. This year, between those 16 growers, it'll be closer to 12,000 acres, right? So not only are we seeing people jump back in again after a good experience last year, but really up the ante. And there's a couple reasons for that, not strictly canola. Right? I mean, the wheat crop in West Kentucky was atrocious, terrible test weight, yields were off. But the big driver is we were all worried about how efficient it was gonna be to plant, how efficient it was gonna be to harvest, and how that would fit in your broader rotation. And what we found this year is it's not as bad as what we thought, right? It's not all rainbows and sunshine, it's not perfect, right? There's a learning curve for every new grower. But these guys were able to get in there, figure some things out, and understand that they can integrate this into their rotation in a bigger way, and it'd be profitable for them, right? I don't think there's anything that can speak better for a program than an increase in acres from your first growers. So hopefully I can lead off with that. But 30,000 acres, we're targeting Mid-South. Really, I wanna say the center circle of our program, probably Mayfield, Kentucky, and then we're going 200 miles in every direction. Probably expand further than that if we wanna get 700,000 acres to feed this plant, but we're really looking for people with double crop experience. Those people seem to be the ones that have the best success with it, at least off the bat. So that's where we're starting.
What are y'all doing with it until that place is operational?
So we exported this first crop to Europe. We're actually loading the boat today as we speak. I got a picture of the barge while sitting back there getting unloaded. It's going to our crush plant in Brest, France, to be turned into sustainable aviation fuel for the European market.
So when you think it gets up and running, price will go up or? Probably not.
Yeah, I think basis will go up, but it is based off of a futures
It's off the
market.
market, so.
Right?
I'm just saying, y'all got a lot of freight in it now.
Yeah, we do, right? So that's the basic piece. Instead of spending, $3 a bushel to get it to Europe, we only have to spend 25 cents to get it to the Gulf, right? With the best transportation system in the country on the river. Yeah, you'll see that in the basis. And what exactly that will equate to, I don't know, because crush margins move as well, right? We've seen the crush complex come off over the last few years, a couple dollars. And that really drives home my point, like, canola's probably not gonna be perfect for every acre for every year, right? It's just like every other commodity, but it is a tool in your toolbox that you'll have moving forward that you haven't had steady demand for in the past, right? We all see the markets fluctuate. We saw what happened to wheat when Ukraine and Russia got into a conflict, right? I mean, $11 wheat, that was pretty wild. I probably wouldn't suggest that you plant canola if you can plant $11 wheat instead if canola's at $12, right? So things will fluctuate, but we do anticipate a steady demand. We'll see a basis pick up once that plant kicks online. But we're gonna try to be competitive up to that point as well. We know we can't wait for the plant to come online and then start growing acres, right? You can't go from 0 to 700,000 acres in a year. So we're in that ramp up phase. We're learning a lot ourselves on how we can market this grain and finding some potential opportunities, even outside of the crush plant as well to help subsidize us as we move forward. But have here delivery sites, right? Several scattered through Kentucky, Southern Illinois, but the one that's prominent to you on the river, Dyersburg, Tennessee, I guess. Everybody familiar with the old Boost Point Bungie facility there right next to the bridge, CGB now. Choctaw Transportation has a facility just south where they load barges. Talk to them, they're on board with helping us out. And that will be our delivery location for next year. And we're very hands-on at managing. I sat in Riverport, Hickman, Kentucky this year and graded every sample. I dumped every truck myself. We'll have that same hands-on management at every facility that we operate because I understand that it's incredibly important for you guys to be efficient in turning your trucks that time of year. And it's something that Bungie, even though we sold the rest of our grain elevators, is still at the core of what we do is move grain. And we know that if you put all the work in to grow this crop and have a bad experience in delivery, you're not likely to grow it. Right? So we understand that's key. This year, I'd send an email to every grower at the end of the day, letting them know what they delivered, what their quality looked like. And I even went as far as texting each grower when their first load started showing up at the plant, right? New crop, guys were a little concerned about how their combines were set. Send them a picture of the sample, say, hey, this is what we're seeing, this is what it looks like. I didn't have any suggestions for what to do to correct it, but at least give them that comfortability, knowing that, they didn't have to sit and wonder if they were doing it right. We were gonna get that information to them directly, to help them manage their operation.
How heavy is this stuff?
I didn't see.
Can I fill my hopper bottom slam full or?
Yeah, you're gonna fill your hot bottom slam full. I saw very few trucks come in over 80,000. It's 50 pounds a bushel.
It's light.
It's light. It's not quite as light as rice, but you're gonna fill everything up full.
Said, if Dyersburg shut down or something, where am I going to take it? What's the next focus?
So next closest would be Hickman, Kentucky, or Eddyville, Kentucky. I'm sure Hickman's probably closer for this area.
I asked that question in that last meeting I sat through, and see if this is correct or not, but the other gentleman that was representing Buggy that day, I said, what if, we got growers in our area that signs up for it, and they got contracts signed that delivers to Dyersburg, and something happens, and they have to go to Hickman. They said that there would be a compensation if something did happen, they have to go to Hickman or something for transportation, is that correct?
That's correct. We did, in our contract on the front page, it says we're gonna pay you, for your mileage to an alternate delivery location if your delivery location of choice had an issue. I don't anticipate any issues, but we never do, and we know grain elevators can break down. I'll be trading the barge freight myself, make sure we have barges in place on time. That's not something we have to worry about whatsoever.
So you dump it and load directly on barges?
Dump and load, yep, taking it straight out of the field, dumping and loading it right on the barge. Well, I'll tell you, we had a really good experience in Hickman last year. Didn't have to wait in any wheat lines at the elevator, right, because there's not gonna be that many acres in West Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be a small group that we're gonna be very hands-on with, we're gonna get you in and out that first year easily, right? The facility has the capacity to move grain, so, not a big concern at this point.
So will you be dumping right there at Bungie at Dyersburg, or you said something about Choctaw?
Choctaw, south of Dyersburg, off
That's where we get the
Brewer.
rock.
Yeah.
You'll be weighing in and out down there and.
They got scales. All that good
Does
stuff.
that flood in the spring like Cargill, that area?
It can. Not as much in Denver, right in Maine.
You can ask Nick, he's been down there 4 million times.
Anywhere on the road.
It can flood, but it takes a major flood for that area to flood down there, and
It won't flood as quick as like hitting a Cargill.
well, no.
Was it 14 or 15 the last time we had a big flood that I remember water being there?
19, we couldn't
Yeah.
take wheat at, Bungie on the river, the road was underwater, that was,
Oh, it's
real
not.
fun.
That's okay.
So it can happen, but I'll tell you, we work with an interior facility to take this stuff at that point, right? We understand that it can't be left in the field, we can't have a 4-hour drive to get to market, right? It's gotta be local, and we've been given the backing to do so, because, in all reality, we have to feed a $750 million crush plant in 2 years, right? So that's all calculated into how we go about, how we approach, delivery, so.
You won't be able to get consolidated grain if you can't get where they talk about hiring, going down the road to consolidate.
Yeah. If it's flooded one place, it's gonna be flooded in all of them.
You get down there to Choctaw, down Red River Road, and it
Yeah.
floods between Red River Road and Big Boy Junction, that floods first.
Yep.
And it takes a 100-year flood, might get the other side of the lake.
Once you plant gets open, will y'all start buying some other granaries, or will it be just Bungie?
It'll just be Bungie. Now, we may use other granaries, ADM, CGV, Cargill, to put it through different places where it makes sense, where we need capacity, because Bungie doesn't have grain elevators anymore. But it'll always be Bungie buying it, and it'll always be Pioneer supplying the seed.
If this goes through or whatever, the canola market grows around here, are y'all gonna put in a port, or, you just gonna continue there?
What's your plans on that?
We're gonna have to have some sort of storage capacity long term, because you can't take a 50 million bushel harvest in June and then crush it for 12 months, let it sit in the barge, so, that's above my pay grade, right? But they are looking at different strategic locations to put storage, to be able to handle this crop, for the long term. Like you said, you gotta be able to store it for 8, 9, 10 months at a time.
Because that, I know somebody was asking about for putting on being or a special floor. If you only gonna buy it during harvest time, that kind of puts you out of savings for, hiking the market or something like that.
Sure, and we'll allow farmers to store it, but we don't want that to be mandatory, because some folks aren't. It's a little more volatile crop, and I think we'll figure out how to store it and be able to give advice on that, but there's modifications that have to be made and some learnings that have to happen before we ask farmers to store it, and the market will dictate that too. If we have a 40-cent carry at harvest time, then, we probably won't put it in bin, but we'll get there, just.
I think in first year though, y'all pretty much want to deliver it to us.
Yeah, we want it out of people's, we don't want anybody to have a bad experience.
Can you do it in like basic book, as far as plan looks like that?
Yep, you can look at however you want. It's an acreage style contract for now. A couple years from now, it'll probably be like more of a standard bushel contract, but until people are comfortable with their yields and what to expect, we're gonna buy it on acreage style. You can do that basis wise and price percentage. Think of it like a seed contract, something similar to that, but we give you can flat price at $12.25. You can set a basis today.
What is that?
Basis, I'd have to check the future market where it's at right now.
12.25, and that is with the base,
Yeah, the 12.25 is
You
with
book
basis.
acres.
You can book acres.
ain't no clauses.
That's right. Well, there is one clause,
Yeah.
it's the act of God clause. So if something were to happen, if it were to rain 4 straight weeks in September, couldn't get it in, if you can't get a stand, if we got winter kill, or if your insurance agent comes in the spring before you put your inputs on, says you just need to tear this up, it ain't gonna make it.
But if I make 10 bushel acre or 100, it don't.
Yeah, we're gonna buy it all, and there's no risk if your crop doesn't make it. You're not, no market liability, no delivery liability.
That's what I think.
You said you're not gonna check test weight,
No check and test weight,
trash,
dockage,
yeah.
dockage comes off gross weight. We only wanna buy your canola, not the stems and stubble. And it will be higher than wheat, right, just cause it's hard to get the sample clean. We grade for damage, but we didn't see any damage this year. Most of the damage in canola comes out of storage.
How hard is it to get you down like that?
Ours
Like hard
hasn't had that
trash,
much trouble.
how clean you got it?
Well, there's no, so if you brought in a load with 900 pounds of canola, 900 bushel of canola and 5,000 pounds of trash, we're still gonna pay you on 900 bushel of canola. If you brought in a load of canola with 900 bushel of canola and 150 pounds of trash, you're still getting paid for it.
Still get paid for you.
Yeah.
It's not really a dock, it's more, just, we're making sure we're paying you for your service.
Yeah, and that's the, not the trash. And yeah, some guys had struggles getting it as clean as they wanted to, right, and play with it even throughout the day, right, because like I said, the moisture in this crop is changing rapidly throughout the day, so, your fan speed, your rotor speeds, you'll probably need to change with that slightly. But at the same time, if you mess up, bring a super trash load in, we're not taking money from you, we're just not paying you for the trash. And that's, as far as discount wise, like I said, it's not a single monetary discount from any grower this year. We were able to blend off some wet loads, sweep that under the rug. We really didn't have too much issue, especially when I was sitting in Hickman and watching those guys get rejected from the granaries left and right because of problems with their weed. It was comforting knowing that we were able to take care of our canola guys. It was helpful. There are a few special terms, just you have to buy your seed from Corteva retailer. If you were to plant, I don't know if any of you grow rapeseed, some of our growers grew rapeseed and canola last year. We just ask that you clean your equipment out really good before you swap commodities, make sure there's no intermingling. The rapeseed is high risk acid, we can't feed that to human consumption or animals, so we do test for that at the delivery site, but even guys that planted substantial acres of both last year, we didn't see any problems there.
sell all your production to Bunge. And Bunge will buy, like I said, all of your production, whether you yield 10 bushel an acre or 100. Take it all, at that contracted price. And then, we already touched on this, but I really like this, because when you pair it with the insurance, your insurance is not gonna be great coverage, but you don't have a lot of input costs up front in canola, right? You got your tillage passes, your initial herbicide, your seed costs. Majority of your inputs come on the back end, and you'll know if you have a crop before you put those spring inputs on, right? So your insurance is gonna cover you up front, and then you have the act of God clause, which will negate any contract liabilities or delivery liabilities for Bunge. So we understand that a new crop is drought adoption, we have to take some of that risk, and this was part of our way to do it, so.
I mean, initially, what is the fertilizer requirements?
Got some crops, I think they got a pretty good description of it in here.
Okay.
Any other questions?
What's the deadline to sign up for a program?
For this year, tomorrow at noon. August 15th.
We're pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not far. August 15th is the deadline to sign up for this year. We are getting a little close on acreage, but, you
You'll
know,
stop it?
We still have like 10,000 acres to go.
yeah.
How far south can they,
I mean, the intention's to go to, down into the Delta of Mississippi.
how far north, all the way?
64 across Illinois.
Yeah.
What's some of the highest average yields you've ever seen?
63 bushel an acre, based off of 1 year of experience. What I will say is that we were surprised by the potential. We had fields like that nice green field that Susanna showed in November. That was a no-till field planted behind tobacco. And we think the higher fertility really helped that crop out, why they'll probably adjust some of the fall fertility plans. And that field made 80 plus across the field. We saw some other fields, no-till behind beans that made similar numbers. So there's potential up there, but a lot of things have to cooperate together as well.
Just wondering, do you see a big difference in yield based on population, or, I know row spaces, it didn't seem like it was huge, but there was a difference.
From what I saw, the tillage made the biggest difference. I mean, we had, some of our better stuff was behind silage.
Okay, there you have it, y'all. I try to catch everything as much as I can. Still got questions to ask, and most of the questions that I did ask, and a lot of people asked that the questions I wanted to ask, a lot of people already got it answered. So now we know that the grain prices is at $12.25 a bushel, or where they hauling it to is 2 locations is what they got, which is Boost Point. It's Boost Point at the rivers, Boost Point and Hickman, Kentucky. So they still working on other locations to get on board. What is it with the potential yields? They said what they got so far, it yields between 60, the highest they seen was like 63 to 70 on the yields, and which is pretty good to me. I would like to see 100 up there, but 63 and the 70, that's okay. That's pretty good, but it can be better. But it's probably based on how everything is planted, like 30-inch rows versus 22-inch rows versus 15-inch rows versus 7.5. What are the difference between the spaces, and what are the data, what it looks like between the 4? And let's see. You do have to sign up for it. Like they said, it's in August on the 15th to sign up for it, to get on board with it. It does, the challenging part of it is the date that you have to plant it in. Now, the date you have to plant it in that I'm getting is August. No, it's September 20. Excuse me, y'all. It's September 20. September 20 is when they want you to plant. September 20, and they want you done by. It's September 20 through October. I'm trying to talk, y'all, because it's a lot of information I need to tell y'all. And so as of right now, I did learn a lot from the most challenging part to me that I got an understanding is September 20 through October 1st is the deadline of the canola need to be in the ground. And when I asked that question, as you heard in the first question that I asked, let's just say that I'm past the due date and I really want to get it in the ground, but I'm behind. You know, you have to count your weathers and your rains and all that in there. And a lot of people, that's going to be the challenging part, is getting it in the ground on that day. But they couldn't really just get an answer really there. But I got an understanding that this is where they need to be at right now. So as of right now, everything is a challenge when it comes down to that. And when they go to talking about the dates to put it in, and then the yields, and then what it costs a bushel. What it costs a bushel is $55 a bushel is what we got, and that's some understanding I got. And then on top of that, we got the location of where it's going to, which is going to be Bruce Point in Dyersburg, Tennessee. And if that shut down, they have a problem there. They also have another location that's going to, which is Hickman, Kentucky. So, all right, sorry about that. I forgot what I was saying. That was the Doja Man right quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and just end this conversation right quick, because I got to close this out because of some fact the Doja Man is over there doing the groundwork. So shop is coming, y'all. Shop is coming. So we finna go over there. We finna vlog that, and then we finna do just whatever. But anyway, all jokes to the side. But yeah, this canola right here, since we already know the understanding, we already know what's going on. We know what's happening. We know it's here. We know it's coming in West Tennessee. What is the difference between wheat and canola? It's basically the same thing. Canola is a little darker. Wheat can be the same thing, depending on the variety of it. The potential yields on the two. What kind of really just caught my eye is the price. You got canola at $12.25, and then you got wheat at, what is it, at $5? I forgot to put that thing back up there. But anyway, it's at $5, a little over $5 or whatever. So that's kind of, hey, that's kind of worth the try. You know, you can profit from that. Yeah, so would that be something that I can do, that I would do? Yeah, but it's just the thing is, you know, this is kind of like a bad year, you know, for everybody, if not for everybody, but I know for myself, because in fact, I'm late on everything. So everything, all my soybeans is going to come out between, at the very end of October to November and partially December, maybe. I don't know, November, December beans is what I'm looking at on most of the crops that I have. So I know I probably won't be able to get that in there, but I know I'll be able to have some wheat. But now I'm at the point, like, I really don't want to put no wheat in the ground because this canola is starting up. So I would much rather have that. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm over here at Co-op right now. I'm picking up a jug of Roundup, and I still got some Class Hack. So what we're gonna be spraying is Roundup and Class Hack together. And what am I spraying with that? We are spraying grass. So there we have it. So in the meantime, y'all be sure to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the notification bell. If you have any questions, put it down in the link down in the description down below. We're gonna take on this canola head on. and I'm gonna see what if I can get it in the ground this year, because I'm gonna try to get it in the ground this year if I can. But like I said, West Tennessee, if you're out here, if you're watching the channel, August 15th is the last day to sign up for the contract of canola. So till next time, y'all, let's go ahead and get this. And I got a lot to do today, but I'll explain where I've been at on another platform, but y'all will see it. Till next time, y'all. Holla.